Hello, thank you for joining us. This is the Nerdist Podcast number 776. Katie Levine is sitting across from me, super producer, wonderful human being.
Thank you.
Animal lover.
I do.
Sports fanatic.
Yep.
Also, Nerdist community corkboard reader.
I am now.
Katie, what is on that corkboard?
I want to plug something. So you know Dave Klock, who does all the amazing Meltdown posters?
Yes.
Such a good artist. He also does a bunch of posters for bands and touring comedians and all that stuff. He has a website that you can go and buy these posters and other existing artwork he has, or you could commission a piece from him. So you can check it out at daveklock.com, and his last name is spelled K-L-O-C.
He is a stunning artist.
He is.
Those Meltdown posters.
They're so good.
Oh my God. I also want to let people know that the last episode of the year is going to be a hostful podcast, last episode of the year. And we're not going to stop doing those. They are going to happen. Jonah has been so busy between the Mystery Science Theater news and doing Hidden America, and Meltdown just got picked up, and he's been on the... He's been Matt. So he's been tough to pin down. Matt was traveling for a while. Matt got married. Matt went on a honeymoon. I'm busy. So we'll do those whenever we can. We do the best that we can. So it never means like they're over. They're not over. It's just schedule coordinated.
Everyone broke up.
Well, I think the thing to do from now on is that we'll just have to really schedule days where we can do a couple and then just bang and then just float them out there. So we will definitely be doing those. At Midnight's on a break right now. We'll be back January 4th. So January 4th, we will be back on At Midnight. Very special guest back on At Midnight. We got first day back. We're doing a Doug Benson week. We're doing a week of Doug Benson. He's on every episode the first week back, starting the 4th.
That'll be fun.
Doug Benson, Jonah Ray, Michaela Watkins on the 4th. We got Doug Benson, Matt Besser. We got Chris Cubis, Jamie Lee, Roy Scovel. Then Paul F. Tompkins, Hodgman.
Oh, man.
Whitney
That's
Cummings.
a really good lineup.
Yeah, we have great lineups coming up. So that's at midnight on Comedy Central. Midnight on Comedy Central. I say 11:59 seconds. It's technically 12:01, but let's not mince words, okay? Let's not mince times, people. This episode is Tim Roth. He is in Hateful Eight, Quentin Tarantino movie.
I'm so excited for that. I can't wait to see that.
It looks really stunning. And if there's a movie that could open around the same time as Star Wars, would that have been weird if Chipmunks had been the number one movie?
Yeah, and
and just
didn't see that coming.
No one would have seen that coming. But obviously that did not come. But Hateful Eight opens on Christmas Day. Quentin Tarantino was just on the podcast, so you can listen to that too. Tim, really, really sweet guy. I didn't know. I was a little afraid of Tim because I always think of him as like he's a really serious actor.
And he was like
super easy to talk to.
Wasn't he?
So fucking charming.
Scout loved him.
I
always take that as a good sign. Scout loves when she loves someone.
Yeah, and you know that because she slightly lifts her head. Other than that, she's quite still. This episode is brought to you by Mozilla.org, the new Firefox. Fast for good. Mozilla builds products, technology, and programs that make the internet a little bit healthier of a place. Since using it helps Mozilla grow a healthier internet for everyone, you get to do good too and contribute. Learn more and download the new Firefox 2 times faster at Mozilla.org. Here's Nerdist Podcast number 776 with Tim Roth.
Now entering Nerdist.com.
Yes, there's like blueberry cheesecake, and there's the bad ideas are like the yam flavored ones. Like there's all types of craziness, but they don't. It doesn't taste like what you think it would. It doesn't taste like eating green tea. It just gives the chocolate a little bit different of a flavor.
It's horrible, isn't it? I like it. That's the challenge.
I like that you ate half of it and go, "That's horrible," and then you ate the other half, and now you're eating the other one. All right, that's not bad. It's not bad. Excellent. What a fun way to start a podcast. You get a Kit Kat right off the bat.
It's good stuff. I'll have some more water as well.
Excellent. Please have some more water. Kyle, did you want one?
No.
Did either of you? Deb? All right.
What if you want
More for me. 6 more for me. There's 2 inside each one. It's nice to see you. Thank you for coming in today to do this.
No worries.
I was so when I did the Hateful Eight panel at Comic-Con, I was really nervous.
Why?
Because You're all amazing, and I was super. This is Matt. We started early today.
I'm winning. I got here 5 minutes early.
Yeah.
How are you?
This is Matt. Doesn't matter. I mean, we literally just sat
I
down.
was here as my convertible top was going up.
We just sat down.
Well,
let's start over.
Yeah, let me do that.
thanks, guys.
Matt, well, it's nice to see you.
Great
Have
to
a
be
Kit
here
Kat.
at the very
Do you want
start of the
Do you
podcast.
want a green tea Kit Kat?
No, thank you.
That's
I
what
don't
this is
dig
all
on
going to be
Japanese
about.
candy.
I know. I get late at night. I get excited about ordering Japanese candies off of
You could
eBay
just
and Amazon.
go downtown and buy them.
That's driving downtown. There's traffic. I can do it in the privacy of my own fucking home.
Not these ones, though. Can you get these ones?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
Yeah, you can get them in Little Tokyo.
Tokyo.
there was some pink one I ate. I can't remember what it was.
A pink Kit Kat?
Yeah, it was pink. It was disgusting. But I ate it. I think I ate it in Liverpool. That's probably why.
Was it supposed to be pink?
It was pink, yeah. It was supposed to be pink. I can't remember what the flavour was.
I was just saying I was super nervous to do that panel because there's so many people on there that I have a tremendous amount of respect for, and I didn't know. And also, it felt like, oh, these are all like serious actors, and everyone was so nice.
We were we were all very excitable because, I mean, as much as actors always say it was really fun making this film, it was, and we became very close, and still are. So that was one of our first sort of reunion moments. So we were all a bit giddy when we got there, and we were stuffed backstage, and that was the first stuff we'd seen of the.
Oh, you hadn't seen any of it?
Seen anything? We'd seen bits at the studio when we were shooting. He'd screened some for the cast, like just some takes and stuff. So we had an idea, but that was the first footage that we'd seen. Was the stuff that they showed at Comic-Con. So we were all sneaking around because it wasn't on the monitor in the back. We were all sneaking around to see it.
It looked stunning.
It did.
And the thing that's so...
Let me guess, it looked like a Quentin Tarantino movie?
It did.
Because that's fucking awesome.
Yes, it did, but it was different because the scale of it is so... The way he shot it,
Yeah.
you know, and on that special film, and they had to get those the old cameras with the old film, and I mean, it really is gorgeous.
70 mils is remarkable. I mean, I've never worked on it before, but when we were shooting, you know, the scenes where we were shooting, and you'd think to yourself, "Well, I'm off camera here. I'm good," and you're on because it can see so much of the room, and then after the fact. When you go back and you work on a normal sort of format, what is now a normal format, you think you're on camera and you're not. You get the luxury of that on Quentin's stuff, especially now he's shooting in 70.
So when you're in a scene, your brain is divided where
You've got to really be on it. You've got to be really, you know, because the lenses go a curve.
Yeah,
it's like they're huge old pieces of glass. We were standing on things in, you know, we were being shot. We would say to Bob, you know, what was shot on this? Is this a Ben-Hur or is this a what? And, go, you know, and we'd all get kind of a kick out of that it had these lenses had this extraordinary history just in themselves.
I just love how excited he was about it because it's not stunty. Like he legitimately cares so much about it that he made a special video just for Comic-Con to explain.
Oh, yeah.
What it was and why he decided to do it. And even backstage, he was like, "Oh man, it's so cool!" And then we had to go in, and then we have these cameras, and they still fucking worked. They still fucking worked.
Yeah.
Like he was that excitable about
I
it.
don't think we ever really had more. There was a couple of times when they were the crew had to tweak them because they, you know, it's a new thing now. Weirdly enough, it's a new thing. But they mostly ran completely smoothly. I think I saw one hiccup. That was it. The whole thing.
How has it changed working with him since the very first time that you worked with him?
Well, I really feel that he's the same guy. I feel that he's... I mean, I think I was surprised at how unchanged he is, which probably means that I was so immature when I worked with him the first time, and he was so much more mature than me. But... I mean, it is. Except he has a world of experience of you know, just in the 20 years or so that I've known him. His film brain is just massive. It's extraordinary, and now he's got the tools, and he's excited all over again. Every single film I think that he makes, he's like that. But I haven't worked with him on the big ones, you know, since Pulp Fiction. That was it.
Yeah.
And now I see that he can do that stuff. I mean, he really knows his way around. It's really exciting. I used to sit on set and just watch him figuring stuff out. I could see him, a light bulb go off somewhere, and off he was doing something, you know. Very, very, very clever stuff.
Yeah, because we were...
he's a brilliant director.
He's brilliant, and I was talking to Robert Rodriguez about it a couple months ago, about... It's great to see people who can operate outside what the sometimes creative process killing entertainment system infrastructure can be, and you see someone just kind of go, okay, I'm just going to sidestep that, and I'm just going to keep doing my own thing the way that I want to do it, and not worry about all that.
And he
stuff.
will continue until he stops.
Yeah, well, certainly now,
But even then, now, I didn't see any. I'd never seen in any of the films that he's done any compromise at all.
Do you ever feel
that I'm aware of?
That you're aware of?
He might tell me I'm wrong, but
do you ever feel any control as an actor, or are you good at releasing control of stuff?
With him, you don't need to. I mean, the stuff is so good when you get it.
Yeah.
You don't. I mean, it speaks for itself. It's quite incredible. He's the only director. I'm trying to think of anybody else that I've worked with, and I don't think there is anybody else that I've worked with where you would go to him and say, "Give me a line reading on this." And because you want to get it to where the music is where he had it in his head when he was writing it, and it's weird because sometimes you miss. We all had this experience with him, and sometimes you'd miss. And you go, okay, I can't get it, and he would have to make that sort of jump for you, that make those sort of synapses go pop, by just telling you exactly what was in the music that was in his head, and he will tell you if you go off, if it's not sounding good, is kind of what.
Yeah,
and it's like there's nobody in there. I mean, we all have bad days as actors, but he's cast us all, so we're all there for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
And then, but you know, we don't necessarily hear his music, you know, sometimes.
But in general, in the business, do you feel? Are you good at relinquishing control of? Because an actor really is it's a terrifying job. You never know. You don't have control over what's going to get used. You don't have control. I mean, you can pick. When you get to a certain point, you can pick stuff, but you don't always know what's going to work or how's it going to come across. So you really have to trust the people you're working with.
I'm all right with it. I didn't used to be. I used to just jump up and down a bit and scream and shout. Now, if I'm, I think I am much better at that. It's a director's medium. It's not an actor's medium.
Right.
You know, writers get TV, kind of, although but we get theatre, really. But and his was like a play, weirdly enough, in many ways. But yeah, I think I'm pretty good at it. Generally, actually, if I find I'm being directed by a bad director, which is quite often, I'll just sit back and relax.
Just let it be?
Done, man, yeah. I mean, you can be in, you know, if you're in a bad film, you know.
How can you tell, like, what are the signs when you get on a set? Can you tell right away, like, oh yeah, this guy doesn't know what he's doing? How can you tell?
Most of the time you can, you know. You can generally tell that before, I think.
Yeah?
I think most people...
Before you step on the set, you know.
Yeah. Sometimes you do.
Is it indecisiveness or lack of vision, or is it just, oh, this person has a vision, it's just a bad vision?
I don't know. It could be anything. I did a really, really bad film a long time ago. Before I came to the States, I did a bad film, and I was out on a different continent. Arrived, came to a set, little back streets, really no English being spoken or anything like that. Walked onto the set, and it was a director that froze in the headlights. 3 days it took us to get two or three line scene. Yeah, and that was like, ouch. And far away from home. And I've done that, and that's an inexperience. But then I've been around really experienced directors who would kind of do the same in an odd way. I mean, they just managed to screw it up for themselves, really, all the way down the line. It's weird. And you never know what's going to happen. There are only a few people you know that what's going to happen with. You can tell when you meet them. You can tell.
And you feel okay, like once something comes out, of just going, well, that wasn't. I mean, it's only so much I can.
No, I'll go out and sell it if it's part of my deal. You know, it is part of the actor's deal to go out and lie. I mean, it's our gig. You know, sometimes you run away, but quite often you have to sit there and you have to say it was a really good experience and it's bullshit.
And it's kind of funny that that is totally acceptable. Because
you've got to do it because especially now with everything being so big.
Yeah.
You know, media being so broad. You know, and also when you've got films, that's how they get seen. You know,
I guess
sometimes
that's
you
true.
don't want them to get seen, but
no, but it is. It's an acceptable amount of lying that no one would ever blame you for. Even if someone was like, "I think he's lying," they go, "Yeah, but what's he? You know, it's for the greater good."
No, you just know. But what I like doing is watching. There's a couple of things I love doing when I would look at actors on telly doing on the red carpet. I like hunting down the publicists. Right? I just watch it. I'm not interested in the actor. I'm just watching the people behind getting nervous and we've got to get that. Oh shit, he's coming, and you know all that going on. That makes me laugh. And then the other one is watching when you've got junket. You know, an actor's been on a really fucking long junket, and they are toast.
Oh yeah.
Watching them try to engage, and they're being asked the same 4 questions, and they've been asked them for about 3 months now. And they can't remember quite if they've answered it yet, or are they in the right order, or are they answering one that I did? I mean, it's just the right, you know, because it's always going to be the same 4. Always going to be the same 4 questions, pretty much.
Yeah.
What was it like working with?
Yeah.
On the set.
If you were in the Old West, what would you? I know.
What do you like? Do you prefer playing good guys or bad guys? You know, and so on and so on. So you know that they've been asked whatever the question is. What was it like being on Mars? You know, whatever the question is.
Yeah.
You just know they've been asked it a lot.
You know what sucks though is because it's such a junkets are such a part of this stratum of soundbite culture.
Yeah.
That it's very. Because I've seen people try to throw different types of questions.
It's not your fault.
No.
It's just the way it is.
And that also has its own pitfalls because then the person is like, I don't know. Can we just fucking talk about? You know what I mean? It's like their brains are so melted they don't want to be too challenged in that moment.
But then something does come up, and that's when that's what is kind of fun. It's like out of the blue, if there is a good one, you go, you know what? I never thought of that, and then you're off to the races. For about, a minute and a half.
I think it's really... and then you got to get on to the next...
Back with that one again.
You're going to go sit in front of the poster again. And then
I fell asleep in the middle of an interview once. In the middle of it. It was in Cannes. It's true. You don't know this one. So... it's a true story. I'm in Cannes, right? And I'm there with a film I've directed. Actually, I've only directed one film. So I'm there, and we're working it, because it's a really non-commercial film. Working our asses off. So we're doing press. But it was a point when we were, I don't know how long through the tour we've been. We've been doing this for a couple of months probably. And there's that thing when you're being interviewed in another language. So I'm doing the 4 questions, right? And it may be 5. And but I remember it was in Japanese. So the woman asked me the question. The other woman translated it. I answered the question. That's translated.
Oh, yeah, it's a process.
So you're going boom, boom, boom. And at some point, I fell asleep. It's been a long night and a long day. To this day, I don't know how long I was asleep for because they were so polite.
Of course, the Japanese would be incredibly polite.
They were really so. They just sat there. So it could have been a really long time. I could have been snoring my head off for all I know. And then, I think at one point they must have sort of just touched my leg or something because, And I woke up and went, I maybe should just go and splash. But it can get like that. And sometimes in your mind you're screaming too.
Screaming to get out, screaming for help, screaming for anything.
Or count it backwards from 20 or something.
I mean, that is it, for all the people...
It's so rude. It's so rude. Yeah, and it's not your fault.
But
I'm in trouble now.
But honestly, for all the people, well, yeah, and the job of a publicist, I don't envy that job at all because you have to, a publicist is dealing with performers, and performers have specific wants and needs and egos, and then the studio has expectations and they have egos, and it's basically you're at the center of this weird ego web where you have to make everyone happy. You have to somehow, I'm talking to Tim's publicist, you somehow have to balance what the studios want versus what your performer will do, and those two things are not.
She just agreed.
They're not always congruent. That is a very difficult.
She's in it now.
Yeah,
it's true.
I mean, you're kind of a babysitter to a lot of people in a weird sort
I'll tell
of way.
you what was funny about publicists when I didn't have one. Right, so I would arrive, and it was during Reservoir Dogs, or maybe before. I can't remember something like that. Anyway, I think I came on board with Stacey. It was during that. It was right after. So I would arrive, and there'd be press to do. I'd be doing it, and everyone else was in the bar. I'm like, why am I still yakking? And it was because I didn't have publicists. Because that's the other thing that they do is they filter.
Yeah.
So you get this is your day. This is what you do. Then you're free. I didn't have the filter.
Now you got the filter.
Unfortunately, now I get the filter. Yeah.
The filter's good. I almost feel like that should be a separate. When people, if you're going to be a theater actor, I think that's what. But if you want to go into film, I feel like there should be a separate acting class where it's like, here's how to walk a red carpet, here's how to do a press junket, here's how to talk, here's how to say things without having to say anything.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm the master of that. No.
It's a skill set, and it's weird, and I kind of feel like. Having done so many episodes, having done almost 800 of these episodes, I find sometimes, people are actors because they don't necessarily want to be themselves all the time. So I've found. They like being other people. So sometimes when you put them under an interrogation light and you start going, tell me about yourself, they get a little like, I don't really want to talk.
Yeah, I think you should be... I mean, I was watching, before I came out here to do this, I was watching Dick Cavett interview Robert Mitchum, which was just on TV in my house this morning. And it was exceptional. It was somebody who didn't care about being interviewed, who didn't care in Robert Mitchum, but it was also somebody who was very, very good at it. Talking to him and getting things I to this day didn't know about him, And also I was watching it because he kind of reminds me of Mike Madsen a bit, So that's why.
Robert Mitchum.
Absolutely.
He seemed like a delightful handful.
Oh, Mike?
Yeah. Because when we were coming off stage, he kind of gave me shit when we were coming off stage of the panel. He goes, "Hey, you didn't ask me any questions up there." And I go, No, I did ask you a question. We talked. we legitimately. And he goes, "No, man, you left me hanging." And I'm like, I go, "No, I don't think I did." And he was like, "Yeah, man." And I was like, "Okay, well, I'm sorry." Like, I just didn't know. I was like, "Well, I'm not going to win this. I know what. I mean, I'm not. I feel like the best thing for me to do is like, okay, I'm sorry. Totally, I'm sorry." But the thing about Cavett that's so fascinating.
He's brilliant, by the way. He's a new discovery for me. By the way.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, there is a whole library. His interviews with Groucho and Betty Davis, and I mean, the thing that Cavett is masterful at is kind of he's good at keeping the ball in the air in the exact perfect way and then stepping back. And the other person just... He gets them to do what they kind of want to do but didn't know they wanted to do. He's masterful.
Well, they were talking about him being... Mitchum being on the Chain Gang. They were talking about his drinking, not being an actor, then becoming an actor, and what he thought about that. His opinion on being an actor was not much.
Yeah,
he didn't sound like he was that enamored with the job or the people around it.
Yeah, I think
it was fascinating to me to listen to him. And Cavett's so smart, and Mitchum is so smart. The two of them were just sparring. It was quite fun.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like there was a generation of actors who were like, "Well, this is a job."
Yeah,
and. I don't care about that other shit.
Most actors in their lifetimes will never have a part they enjoy.
Really?
Never. It just doesn't happen. I've had tons of them. I've had tons I haven't, but I've been very, very lucky. We were talking about this. The Hateful Eight guys were all talking about it. Like, when it's fun, it's rare when you love it so much.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen to a lot of people. We've been very, very fortunate group, but yeah.
I mean, it's a job where you don't actually get to do the thing you're paid to do that much. You're not actually spending the majority of your time acting when you're on film.
I mean, when I go home, I'm on vacation.
Yeah.
That's how I think of it. It's just I'm away, and I'm generally not particularly not that enamored with who I'm working with, like the director or whatever. You're always trying to make it work. You're never trying to make it work with Quentin. You're trying to live up to what he's done, but quite most often you're trying to get something good going on, and that can be a struggle.
Yeah,
not all the time, but it can be a struggle. I mean, a lot of actors I talk to really have just kind of quietly quit in their minds. Really, they're just
and they just sort of take jobs for work, and then
especially when it's been a long haul. Yeah, so there's a lot of them just. But you got to pay the rent. You got to look after the kids. You got to do the things.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but I found it anew really.
How come?
Which was weird. I just got offered some good jobs when I hit my 50s, and it's a cool thing. I thought I was going to be put out to pasture, which is fair enough. I mean, you're probably sitting there going, "I wish he fucking had been." No.
50's not that. I think.
No, when I hit that. I mean, we're all kind of. I suppose who's the young mob? Well, there's a young mob in Hateful Eight, but we're all kind of out there. And there comes a time when you think, oh, well, you won't get such good scripts, and then you get surprised. Sometimes. I've just done a bunch of work in Mexico with these new filmmakers. Incredible.
What'd you do?
Did a film called 600 Miles about what Fast and Furious really did to the Mexican people, and it's just taken on a very small scale about a kid who finds himself... he smuggles guns back from America across the border into Mexico for the gangs and cartels down there. And he's very, very young, and he ends up getting... I surprise him for DEA, guy from DEA, and then he takes him back across the border, smuggles him in, takes him to his family because he doesn't know what to do. But it's not about that. It's about his own sexuality and stuff like that. It's very, very interesting. Yeah.
So the other stuff you'd think would be the A story is just the backdrop.
It's really interesting stuff. Misogyny and all that. And then I did one which we shot here, but another one called Chronic, which is which we got at the AFI Fest here, which I think is up in next week. And then that's about a male nurse who's a hospice nurse who's end of life.
And do you play that character?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It was brilliant. Wonderful. And I met that director through being on a jury in Cannes and seeing his work and getting... it's terrifying what he did. The one that we saw in Cannes was about bullying. It was devastating. But and so there's these new filmmakers that are coming up. Found them as well.
That's why it's such a strange question to say. Do you like playing good characters or bad characters? Because there's no. It doesn't really. Like every character thinks they're good. Ultimately,
yeah. I mean, unless you're fucking nuts.
But then it's not that you're bad. It's just
celebration of bad.
You just have a different perspective.
Yeah.
And a different belief system than other people.
It's terrible. I mean, I tell you what would be one of the hardest. I was working with an actor called Bruno Ganz a long time ago, and he played Hitler rather well in an interesting sort of film.
And that's almost the one like, I don't know if you want to play that too well,
right? Called Downfall, and he said that was a tough one, like coming home from work every day and then knowing what you were going back to do.
Yeah,
so it was really, really hard. I never thought of that way.
Yeah, because in some sense, if you're any character that you're playing, that character has to believe that what they're doing is right.
And he couldn't find that.
Yeah, there's always the sentence, well, at least he's not Hitler.
Yeah, right.
Shit.
Yeah.
I had literally Hitler this time.
Yeah.
God damn it.
Yeah, with a moustache as well. And you're going into a hotel. Yeah, fuck, go hide out in your room.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
okay, I'm an actor, and you're just
Swear to
messing up
God.
your hair. Okay, I'm an actor.
They should have had a Charlie Chaplin costume to wear to the hotel.
Bowler hat.
Oh, I'm just
Swear to God.
Charlie
We're doing
Chaplin.
this great Chaplin biopic. It's very heartwarming. It is the opposite of Hitler.
Oh my
I don't know
God.
what you're talking
Modern
about.
times.
I think what I would have to. I think what he probably should have done is just had like a fake mustache tips on either side.
I said to him, why didn't you just have a... He said, couldn't I? Anyway. It was. That would be a pretty tough one
That would
to deal with.
I mean, literally the one,
that's the one.
hardest one
One of
right
them.
there. I mean, I wonder if some actors are like, oh no, that's a challenge, you know? Like,
Oh,
what a
I can see the
challenge.
challenge, but I would imagine 6 weeks in, it would be pretty heavy. But then, you've got Hitler in Quentin's movie, Inglourious Basterds.
That's
right?
true.
That'd be the fun one to play. That would be a good gig.
I mean, I think it's probably healthier emotionally if you can approach it more as a craft.
Yeah.
Where you're not so arty about it, where you take it all home, where you can go, well, this is a job and I can leave it at work. and then I can go home.
Yeah, I'm that.
Oh, you are?
Oh, I can't, I'm not. I call them Methodists. I'm not one of those. I can't take it home. I switch it right off.
Oh, that's good.
I mean, I'll look at my stuff for the next day and get ready, so I know where I'm going. But no.
It just doesn't
Absolutely
seem
not.
like. I mean, obviously, I don't know. Everyone's got their own path. To me, I can't imagine how that would be enjoyable. Of having to do that and live, especially if it's something you're doing is intense.
Yeah. It's how some people work, though. I mean, they take it home with them, and they really do that. And it's just, I mean, how you work is how you work, but it does seem like that would be really tough.
Yeah.
I think we kind of, when we were kids as actors, we kind of thought that's what you were supposed to do because De Niro was doing it, or you'd heard that
Sure.
that was the case or whatever. But we kind of gave that a pass. I never studied it, so I just never.
I think it switches. I think it switches around 40, maybe. Like when you're young, it's romanticized. Like, oh, they're
Yeah.
such an actor.
Yeah.
And when you start to get older, you're like, yeah, wouldn't that be great to not have to worry about all that other shit and
I know,
just
but
like
they figure that out. We haven't figured it out yet. There might be that. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I'm trying to think. I don't think any of us were like that on the Hateful Eight, but there are people. I mean, there are some people you don't look them in the eye on the way to the set. You don't do that kind of stuff.
What about you when you're doing like an American accent? Do you stay?
Oh, I've got my except I've got a dialect coach with me. And all I'm doing is worrying about hitting that R or something. No. Except the fun ones. There's a couple of accents I did recently which were fun. I did the one for George Wallace, and that was in the Selma thing. And
Yeah.
I mean, that's a fun accent. So you're playing around with it all day, mucking about. And then there's a one I just did in England, which is a Birmingham accent, our version of Birmingham, which is a very particular sound, which you have to be careful because it sounds comedic if you
Really?
go too far with it. Yeah,
like Python at Monty Python-esque.
absolutely. Yeah. But you can't stop yourself. And then what happens is that bleeds into when you're doing a scene. It was a very serious piece I was doing, and everyone has to just take it down. Because I'm a funeral, but I'm in the
So you weren't reading
Messing
spam
around.
eggs and spam.
No. But it can have that effect, especially on the British public who have a point of reference for what that accent means to them. It is. It's tough.
What's that community? What is a community of British actors? Because obviously, it feels to me that it's much tighter and smaller and more.
Over there?
Yes.
I think it's more of them out here trying to get a job. to be
Sure.
honest. But I'm not so sure. I mean, I haven't lived there in a long, long time, and but I think it's that sort of down in London West Endy vibe thing. I mean, I don't really know them. I don't know. I know a few actors that I've worked with.
Yeah.
Or that have become friends because of somebody I worked with. But apart from that, I don't really know anyone.
What do you do when you're not? I mean, do you give yourself chunks of time off purposely? Do you carve out times during the year where you can sort of just shut down and not have to do anything? You're nonstop work.
Got to get the kids through college.
Yeah.
So if I find the luxury is when you're doing a job that you like or whatever, you're getting your check in, and then you've got a gap, but you know when that one's going to hit, the next one is going to hit. So then you've got a block of time off, and if you've got a guaranteed block of time off, that's when you consider it's a vacation, and then you maybe take the missus somewhere or something.
Nice.
But not. We just did that on the one I just did. We just went to France for a week and a half, and it was great. So. But now I've got to work again.
You're going back to work again, yeah. How do you decompress?
Well, it's hard if you do a job and then go straight onto another one. That's really, really hard. But otherwise, I just go home.
That's it.
That's all I do.
You know, I like those stories.
Just go. All I want to do is go home.
Yeah. I kind of feel the same way. I genuinely, I love working, but at the end of the day, like, I just like to go home and just get into bed. And
well, you do the TV thing as well, right?
I do. Yeah. I a lot.
That's really hard work. I'll take that back. That is not really hard work. That is really time consuming.
It's very time consuming.
Hard work is going down a mine.
Hard work is going down a mine. Yeah. But I will say that hard physical work is going down a mine. But, you know, the stuff that the different facets of what we all do, to have your brain engaged all day where you're super, I mean, yes, it's not life-threatening. It's not, you know, you're not doing the world any great service, but it is, you feel the exhaustion at the end of the day where your brain just feels like it's so wrinkled up. I just want to, I want to flatten it out with a rolling pin.
Never been so tired.
Yeah.
I did a TV series out here.
Oh, you did Lie to Me.
Yeah. And I've never been so tired as that.
Oh yeah, because that's just
exhausting.
Yeah, there's no real like, okay, well we got to shoot 14 hours today until we get this, and then you come back tomorrow morning and you know
start again. And then with the drama thing, you had to deal with the scripts. Obviously, that was hard work. But you know, so you're working on the scripts and trying to make them better, doing what you can, and then you're filming all day, and then you're sliding through till past the midnight, and then you're sliding through again and again and again till like 2 or 3 in the morning at times with, you know, doing that. But then at the end of the week, you're halfway through your weekend, and you still got to learn the script for next week.
Yeah.
So it was by the end of a 22 episodes or whatever, you're fried. You're fried. It was a real challenge. I quite enjoyed it.
You did? You think you'd do it again?
I would do it again. I'd love to do it again. Yeah. Be fun. I would probably do the cable version of it, you know, not the network version of it.
Yeah, so that you have a little more freedom, a little more content freedom. I mean, there's more. It is
and 10 episodes versus 22.
Yeah, by the end of it, the last season we did 13. It was unbelievable fun, you know. But we were still beat, and then they cancelled us. As soon as it starts getting fun, they'll cancel you.
Oh, is that what happens?
That's what happens.
God
you just got it right, and
yeah, that's the thing. Is it does, you know, on a show. That's the thing I admire about film is that. There's no real margin for figuring shit out. You just have to figure it out because you have a very television. If you get a few seasons, like, oh, you know, okay, we got it, you know. Oh, yeah. You watch a season, okay, next season, let's go back and fix this. Oh, then by season 3, you got it, you have it locked.
You're ready,
down.
and that's when they kill you. Because season 4 is when they have to start paying on the syndication.
That's right. Season 4 is when they start renegotiating.
Yeah, that's right. You're like, bastards! It was going so well.
We got enough. Fuck, really?
And then we go abroad, and they don't know we've been cancelled.
Yeah, oh, really?
And the way people watch TV now is not with commercials. Nobody does.
When you're making more of those? Never. Shit. All right.
Yeah, and they're bummed.
Yeah.
It's funny anyway. I enjoyed it.
When you guys were on Hateful Eight, were you all kind of squashed somewhere in the middle of nowhere? I mean, were you guys spending your leisure time together, or was it we're working and then we're kind of going off and doing our own thing?
Well, no, we were in the mountains up in Telluride in Colorado. And there was this very small town, so we would see each other
with some very nice hotels.
But we were. I had a little apartment thing, and people were all over the spot. You know, it was great. Some people were up the mountain. You know, they could choose to be. If you had your kids and stuff, they'd go up and stay up there, and then. But we were there for quite some time. So I used to run into Kurt a lot. We used to like the same couple of restaurants.
God, he seems like the best dude.
He's fucking hilarious. He is so much fun. We love the Kurt, but he is. He's you know. And then you're looking at him going, he's the easiest one. We all group text, right? We've been doing it since during the film. We still do it. There's loads of it going on, and And he's the easiest one to find silly pictures of because he's been around. He's been around, right? For a fucking, he's been
making
acting
movies since you were
he
born.
was a child. Yeah, it was brilliant. So he's really good. You can hit him with a picture pretty quickly in response to something that he said. He's amazing. He's amazing, Kurt. But we had the Summer Award thing the other night, and he was our spokesman.
Send him gifts of Captain Ron.
Yosemite Sam. He's a phenomenal guy. But but most of the time when we were working, especially once we got down to LA and they built the main set on a soundstage, and it was refrigerated, so we would go in and it's freezing. Put all your layers on so you could see the breath and all that going on, and. But we'd come out, take coats off, hang them up on the peg, and we had a little coffee circle was going, and whoever wasn't, needed in the scene or whatever was sit outside, and it's that's when we really got to kind of know each other a bit, and everyone was just telling stories. And you imagine sitting around with that lot telling stories?
That's crazy. I mean, I can't even.
Bruce Dern,
it's fucking crazy,
right? And although Bruce mostly he'll get into really big, incredibly detailed film conversations with Quentin. I mean, amazing. And Kurt's good at that stuff. Or he wants to talk about football. Soccer.
Soccer, yeah.
As you would say. Sam's really into that. So, but all of the stories were going back and forth, and that was for about 3 months when we were here. It's extraordinary.
Do you learn from those guys? When you do.
You learn by watching them. You sit and watch. Watch Kurt take a room. Watch Sam take a room, or Walt, or any of them. And any of them. I'll tell you, I learned a lot from as well as Jennifer Jason Leigh.
Oh, she's incredible.
God, she's good. She's really good in this. She's amazing in this. But her patience, that's the thing. Her and Kurt's, both of them, because it's the situation they're in, had to be very patient as people, as actors, and were extraordinarily so, I found. But all of them great. The guy who's James Parks, he plays a stagecoach driver. He trained for about 5 months. He's the only actor in the world, I think, qualified to drive a 6-horse stagecoach.
Oh, wow.
It's going to come in handy.
Wells Fargo called. They want to do another ad.
Oh, no shit.
Your guy.
Yeah. Six-horse rig.
I fucking cornered that market.
Actually, I should say that there is a female as well that's qualified. But brilliant.
I've known Walton for years and years and
years.
Goggins? The Goggins, yeah.
Man,
and watched him. It's been really great to watch him get on. I mean, his career he's just been on amazing thing after amazing thing after amazing thing.
He's on one now.
Yeah.
He's on one now. He's doing a television, I think it's 2-season television thing. She's really, really, really loving. He's wiped out. I think he's just about to finish. But yeah. You know what? He came in, I don't know if he was Quentin's original guy who I had in mind. I have no idea. It's between the two of them. But I know when it wasn't going to change was when the first script got leaked, and so Quentin planned to do this fantastic reading of the original script only for the audience that came to see it that one night. But we rehearsed for about 3 or 4 days, and we were all reading our scripts, struggling with it. It was just, it was just getting into it and stuff. Walt learned the whole thing. He came in and he had his character down. He was like, he came ready to play. and I used to watch it. It was incredible to watch that he would do that. I mean, he walked around with his script in his hand, but he was ready. He was so prepared. He was so happy to be there. And I've got to think that must have had something to do with the fact that he ended up in a film. Because if somebody did that service to me, for me, if I was a director, I'm sure that would be, unless they were awful and they'd done it, it would be, which is not the case with Walt at all.
Decided to play it as a French gimp.
Oh yeah, that would be it.
What are we doing in this cabin? Okay, cut. I don't know.
What? How do you know Walt?
We did a movie. I've only ever done 2 movies. I'm a comedian and a television host. I'm not an actor. And but we did a horror movie together in 2000.
Wow.
And it was a bunch of people's kind of first movies.
Yeah.
This other guy named Rainn Wilson, who ended up being on The Office, and Walton, and me, and I don't know. It was just this fun little small movie, and so we've all kept in touch over the years. And it's
he's a truly good man.
It's just one of the fun things about getting older and being around for a while. It's like, it's been so fun to watch everyone kind of go off and find their own things.
It's extraordinary what's happened with him. I mean, like you're saying earlier, like his career, because he came into town with $17 in his pocket. I mean, he really did do that thing as a kid.
But then you hear stories like that, like, in this rehearsal he came in and he knew everything and he nailed it and he made decisions and it's like, okay, well, he's
but that doesn't always happen to the good guys. I mean, even if they do that, they don't always get the gig.
That's true.
And more often than not, to be honest, they won't get it. So it's when it happens to somebody who's fantastic, such a good hearted person, it's pretty great.
Yeah.
He deserves everything.
Yeah.
That's coming to him, that guy. He's a truly good man.
He is a good dude. And that smile, he's got that smile.
Oh my God. Yes, you'll be able to see that in the movie.
That's why he's so great at playing those kind of dirty characters, because he's just.
This is like, I mean, and you'll see in well, you've seen a little bit, but you'll see in Hateful Eight his characters. Whoa, that's a good one.
Do you have a concept of, when you think about yourself and all the world, like, do you have a concept of who you are or how you think people see you, or like, how do you see yourself? Like, do you just see yourself like, I'm just a working actor, or do you?
Well, when Quentin tells me how obnoxious I was back on Reservoir Dogs at times, I'm so mortified. I'm like, oh my God, really? Did I do that? Oh yes, you did.
Maybe that's just being young.
Yeah. So there's that. But no, my wife does tell me, she tells me, you go. Sometimes if I'm in a grump or whatever, and we're out, it can bleed. It's not pleasant. Do I have a sense of myself as that's me as a human, as an actor? But other people are looking at me, go, oh. But no, I don't. I think that's all of the sense of where you stand within the community or whatever. All of that's for you guys to figure out.
You're really lucky that you have someone in your life that can say, like, "Hey, you're kind of being a dick." Like, that's a good. That's a good thing to have.
Absolutely, my wife and Quentin.
Your wife. I mean, that's important because I feel like, especially in this business, you spend so much time in your own head. You spend so much time navigating all of the press stuff and the political stuff and the getting the job and dealing with all the things. I mean, you're just in your own head all the time, and you don't know. Like, you really but
you don't,
people,
and sometimes you do behave like a dick. I mean, it's so awful, and you get told about it. But the worst is, it's okay when you get told about it in the moment. You can deal with that. But when you get told about it way after the fact,
right?
You go, oh shit, did I really? Oh fuck.
Would you ever call or email someone and go, I'm sorry about that thing?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Completely. Yeah. It's mortifying.
But not everyone has, like the people that really act up. I think, they've either cut those people out or they lack the person in their life that can kind of keep them a little grounded.
Yeah. Sometimes you just don't end up. I mean, I'm very fortunate in that way. And I think that the job that we do doesn't lead to particularly, with some notable exceptions, you can end up with a very short relationship with somebody.
Yeah,
if you're not careful, because you're going away. You're absent all the time. You need somebody who can be really a rock like for that.
Yeah, because they can't always travel with you all the time.
No, we used to do it. Me and my missus did it a lot, and then the kids, and then once school hits. So everything changes. So
yeah.
Then you're praying for a job during the summer or something like that.
Good. Yeah.
Somewhere nice. So what happens is you really want either one that keeps you home in a way, or somewhere where you just go, yeah, I'll take that one. Look for something. I've quite often said this to my agents. In some countries, look for something in Paris. That'd be nice. South France would be lovely.
Bali? Are they shooting anything in Bali this year? Anything?
It does. Believe me, it does cross your mind.
Oh man, I mean, like, what do you think is what's the key to a good relationship then, particularly in a profession that's
Well, I think it's patience more than anything. My wife is incredibly patient, and of the kind of life that we do lead.
Yeah,
we're mates. It's one of those. I'm afraid. Really,
no,
that's corny.
No, it's not corny at all.
Yeah.
It's so. Not only is it important, but I feel like it's vital because you need to have sanity. Like you need stability.
Some people, you see, there are some people that I know who just can't do it. They just want. That's not what they want. They want to be on their own. And that I find. I mean, that's an unusual thing, but you do come across it. You know, I was talking to an old mate of mine from school. I was at high school with her, and I was working with an actor who knew her, and I said, "Oh, I got on the phone, I had a chat with her, and I was talking to her about, you know, how's life and all of that, and her life is very, very successful now. And we both came up from schools that you wouldn't expect any success to come out of them, and I was asking her what you and any kind of relationship. She said, "No, it didn't happen." She said, "Well, it's not. I can't just. It's too past the point where I'm going to find somebody who's going to put up with me."
Really?
Yeah. And she's a writer, and she's very, very successful. Does a lot of stuff. And she said, "No, didn't click. Didn't happen. Just missed."
Was it J.K. Rowling?
No. That's a really nerdy thing to say.
All I have is this $2 billion and a bunch of Harry Potter shit around my house.
Married to all these pictures of Benjamin
God.
Franklin.
Isn't she doing a grown-up version?
Yeah,
it's a play, right? Yeah, they're doing it. She's doing the plays.
An adult, right?
Yeah, I think it doesn't have to do with his kids.
Yeah,
I think it has to do with his.
Man.
By the way, I'm fully on board. I fucking love the Harry Potters.
I was offered it.
Oh, I know. Weren't you? You were offered. Was it Snape?
I was. Rickman got it, and I was offered it, and I passed on it because I wanted it. I accepted it first, and all power to Rickman, by the way. But I was doing Planet of the Apes at the time, and they said we should shoot it in America. So they said, well, we'll fly you back and forth. Can you imagine doing that? I mean,
sounds like it'd be doable, but then you'd fucking die halfway.
5 hours in makeup on Tim Burton's thing, you know, and then over there and doing the Snape acting, but they kind of had figured out.
So you chose Ape over Snape?
I stayed home. Also, I wasn't sure if I was ready to be on a lunchbox,
right?
And I was quite happy not to, you know.
What would that have represented?
Money. In the end, I didn't know that at the time. I really didn't know nobody could predict that.
I mean, but you on a lunchbox, do you feel like that would make people go, "Oh, he's not a real actor if he's on a lunchbox"?
No, I just didn't want to embarrass my kids. As I was like,
"Hey, your dad's a wizard.
Yeah.
Shut up."
No, the cool one is your dad's in Reservoir Dogs. That's cooler.
That's fucking cool.
That's cooler for my kids.
But then you were in the Hulk. You were in the Hulk movie.
They like that. I like that. What else did I do that they liked? Not much.
It's not like all the movies you make are for kids.
No, I know.
But now I think they're probably coming to an age.
Oh no, they watch them all now. The film that I did that I directed, we just showed it in Mexico at a film festival down there, and my son flew in. One of my boys flew in, and he watched it on the big screen. He'd already seen it, and that's about child abuse. That's a really nasty subject. I was worried about that, but he's fine with it. You know, they're way ahead of that now. But I kept them off the set for a long time. They were very rarely visited. You know, my eldest in London, he's an actor, but these two aren't. These two are one might end up in film some way. The other one's a musician.
Did you like directing? I mean, do you like the process of directing? You do.
Yeah, I adored it. I love it. I hope I'll go back and do some more.
I would be surprised if I assume if you wanted to, you absolutely could.
Well, you've got to take this kind of stuff that I want to do represents working for pretty much no money.
Sure.
So you just need to stock up.
Got it.
And then I can go away for a year and a half or whatever it may be.
Well, if you had just taken Harry Potter, you'd be fine.
I'd still be filming Harry Potter. That's true, right? Do you know the other one, which was here's a weird choice: Lord of the Rings for those guys, right?
Uh-huh.
That's an 18-month commitment,
Right.
So they all went to New Zealand, I think, right?
Yeah.
And then but the ones with the kids, they go to school there. They had to. I mean, it was you have to make a serious, and they do 2 films back to back, right?
Yep.
Incredible.
They spent the better part of
Upward.
10 years down there making
Yeah.
Lord of the Rings movies. And that's such a specific, you know, I mean...
It's almost as long as the running time of those movies.
Who did you on the nerd front? What do you prefer, the Hobbits or the Lord of the Rings?
Do I prefer the Hobbits? Well, I thought Return of the King was such a great action-packed movie, and I like resolution film.
Yeah.
I like films that sort of resolve a storyline, and so I really loved. I think I'm more on the Lord of the Rings side than I am the Hobbits. I mean, I definitely like the Hobbits, but Lord
They're
of the
more
Rings,
adult kind of.
yeah, it was just so much more. Yeah, I really, and also at that time, that's when late 90s, early 2000s are, you know, there was such an evolution in film, particularly in fantasy and sci-fi and superhero films, because technology finally made it plausible.
Yeah.
And so, you know, this is where you had X-Men and Spider-Man and then Lord of the Rings. And so you have this glut of these movies that ultimately help create the larger tentpole for Comic-Con culture, which was pre-existing but much more focused on comic books. And so now it's, you know, like they really established the culture that we're in. They helped establish the culture right now. So I can totally, I see the allure of, hey, you're going to be in this iconic thing and it's going to be really amazing, but also realizing, do I want to do this for 10 years of my life? I mean, that is a
It can
real commitment.
be. I mean, how long has Downey been doing Iron Man now?
10 years.
That's extraordinary.
It is, but, you know, I mean, it's like, but, you know, in his case in particular, though, I mean, I think most people forget now that he was relatively unemployable before Iron Man came back.
I don't know. I worked with him. I did a short film with him. He was hilarious. My problem was keep the straight face.
I don't mean because he's not awesome. I just mean at the time he had gone through a bunch of stuff, and so it was hard. I think there were difficulties ensuring. You know,
all of that.
And so, and it completely revitalized, and now he's.
I don't know, man. His. I think he had an extraordinary thing about him where he managed to not only to survive, which is tricky in itself, but he was forgiven by the American press in a way that I don't think I've ever seen anyone get.
You know, I think
a few times.
I think as long as, because obviously, you know, and look,
he's fucking adorable. That's why
he's amazing,
incredibly funny.
The panels that I've met, he was so warm and charming, and also he's been fucking phenomenal in pretty much everything since the early '80s that he's done. And but I think in his case, I think people can be forgiven. I think
not that he needed to be forgiven,
but just in terms of like
on the work front.
I think when someone is legitimately, look, you know, obviously I had an addiction, I had things I was going through. It's not like he, you know, punched a cop in the face and then like, why doesn't anybody, you know, he was struggling with something and he made a real effort to turn his life around, and I think he was seemed very sincere about it. And I think as long as someone is authentic and like, hey, you know, I'm gonna try to do good now. I want to try to do good, and he is so great at what he does.
I don't know. I agree. I agree with you on that. But I think that if somebody gets into trouble now, I mean, this is somebody gets into a difficult situation now with TMZ and all of that world going on. I don't think stand a chance.
I think if Robert Downey Jr. had woken up in that couple's house now, as opposed to, you know, when was it, the late 90s that happened, that he got so fucked up that he ended up in someone else's house. I think if that happened now, with the culture that it is
the
now.
reason that I disagree with you is because the more Charlie Sheen did that shit, the more people...
But he doesn't work.
He doesn't... But that may be more because he might be not easy to work with.
I'm just...
Do you know what I mean? Like, I think... You know, Guy Robert Jr. seemed very much in the mindset of trying to turn his life around. And I think people do love a redemption story. And when someone's legitimately trying to turn their life around, I think people are more forgiving than just like, why, you can't fucking deal with me? You know? Okay. But you must have seen shit like... You must have seen...
I saw...
You must have seen it happen hundreds of times.
Oh, God. Well, I'm never really aware. I'm a bit dim.
That's actually a blissful place to be honest.
But there was one guy I worked with who did that, who was who you know, managed to turn his life around, and I saw him. I ran into him fairly recently, and I didn't even recognise him. An actor.
Oh, and he turned around for the positive.
He turned around really, really for the positive. Extraordinary things. Some people never come back. I mean, I know people who never came back. My father never came back. He was an actor. He was in the war, and things that the world that he saw, it destroyed him. He never really stepped back from it.
Was this I assume was at a time where people who were suffering from PTSD probably didn't understand that, and maybe didn't.
There was no term for it.
Right.
Shell shock.
And there wasn't a community necessarily of therapists who were like, "Come, we'll help you."
No, and we were English, and we all thought that therapy was a pretentious American concept,
Right?
Which in fact it's
still
not.
Not wrong.
No, but it was really, because my dad was actually American and then became English. He did the reverse immigration thing. He went to work he was from Sheepshead Bay in New York. And then they put him on a ship, him and his family, had a horrible family. And they sent him over to England. His parents took him to England, and he put him to work in the brick factories. And him and his siblings, I think, probably blackmailed his parents into getting him out of there. So they took him down to the paper mills and the hop fields down in the south of England. And then I think when the war came along, he didn't have much of an education, but when the war came along, he jumped in early and stayed for the whole time.
Oh my God! I mean,
and he was a tail gunner in bombers.
I mean, for fuck's sake! I mean, you hear about it, and you're like, this poor guy never had a chance. Like,
he was funny though. I mean, he was good, but it still just stayed with him. I think the things that he saw, he told me a few of them, but he would very, very, very rarely talk about it. But the things that he saw, he never came back from. I don't think. Really.
Have you ever thought about exploring that as a?
Oh yeah, definitely that kind of world. I mean, he ended up in Italy. He taught himself Italian. Ended up in Italy and then came home, which he should never have done.
How come?
He was enjoying himself. He came back to, I better go see the family, and that was it.
Oh right.
He got back again. He wouldn't get on a plane, so.
Wow. Oh, well, I would imagine.
Yeah.
So by the time you came around, had he somewhat stabilized?
Up to a point, but he was a journalist. So a lot of his work, he was an alcoholic, so a lot of his work was in pubs.
Sure.
Be meeting people in pubs, and it was just never,
I mean, yeah, especially you think 50s, 60s, and British culture, which is very much a pub culture. And I imagine at the time, people probably thought it was weird if you weren't drinking or at the pub. Like, oh, what's wrong with...
Yeah, it was weird. And then, he made it through to the 80s, late 80s, and then that was it. He died then. But he was a Communist Party member. He was a rabid socialist. He was a very groovy guy. We used to go on demonstrations with him when we were kids, That was anti-Nazi League, all of that stuff.
So how did you escape that? Like, how did you?
I went to art college. I was a regular sort of working class high school in England, and then in a predominantly black neighbourhood. So I kind of stood out a bit. Like a sore thumb. I mean, there were a lot of white kids in the school, but it was the neighbourhood was a place called Brixton, which is
I know Brixton. Yeah.
Well, that used to be was groovy and happening, but it was predominantly black. And me and a couple of mates, I wanted to go to art school. That's what I wanted to do, and I got in to a very, very good fine art school. But me and a couple of mates, as a joke, auditioned for a play. And it backfired, and I got the lead, which meant that I had to sing and dance. It was called Dracula Spectacular.
What the fuck? Oh, yeah. That sounds amazing.
I know. Oh, yeah. I had to sing and dance. I had to play Dracula. And the teacher, I asked her years later, I said, what did you see? She said, I saw someone on the run. So she said, come here. And she gave it to me. I just didn't know if I could. So I did it, and I fell in love with it. So now I'm trying to get plays and stuff, but I'm going off to art school, which I actually ended up ditching college and and becoming an actor, just signing on a doll and becoming an actor. But that's what I did. It was as a joke.
What are some of the songs from Dracula Spectacular?
I can't remember, but I do have the script at home. I can look them up for you. I kept it.
I can't believe, I've never heard of that before. That sounds amazing.
It was, but the problem with it was that meant that in front of all the bullies at school, right, of which there were quite a few, I had to get up and sing and dance in a silly costume. And I thought, I'm dead. We have to do 3 performances of this. I am fucking going to get killed. But the reverse happened. And everyone, they loved it. So I just kept getting... That was my mini version of a little bit of Hollywood fame, was walking around school and people going, oh, it's that guy in track. Yeah. That actually happened to me at high school.
Hey, it's Dracula Spectacular.
Dude! But not in that accent. Yeah. Isn't that weird?
It was probably more like, look at that cunt over there.
Yeah. Oi, rough!
I like the performance. Why'd you hit me? Well, that's how I express love.
Habit. I used to get beaten up every day.
Really?
Yeah. I didn't have... when I went to school, My parents had a pretty sort of standard accent, right? They were... But the school had a very London accent, and I walked through the gates. I got done as soon as I put on the ground immediately. So I learned my first dialect when I was 11, basically how to survive.
How to survive.
Yeah, that was it. That was the first experience, I think. In going down that road.
That's when you became a method actor.
Yeah, I was a Methodist.
Back then, you had to be a method actor to get the shit kicked out of you every day.
Yeah, I got shit. I'm sure there's a lot of directors out there that'd love to kick the shit out of me too. But.
Well, no, but it's kind of... I mean, it is a nice story that your dad had this rough life, but then he provided... You were able to go to art college, and now you have kids, and you're able to provide for them, and you pass...
Well, he tried to provide for us, but at the time... There wasn't a student loan system in place as beginning to be in England. There were grants. You got a scholarship. You had to earn it, and it depended on the earnings of your parents, how much the state would put into your education. So we were Thatcher killed that off. So, but we benefited from that. Me and my sister, she went to art college as well, and so I got to go to college because of the sort of the political system at the time. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to. Couldn't have afforded it.
Was it just a general art college? Like, oh, you're doing sculpting and painting and acting?
It's a fine arts college. There was no actors there. It was just fine arts. So I studied sculpture actually, and we do a foundation course to find out what you felt that you wanted to specialise in. But it was graphics or was it photography there? I don't know. It's one of those colleges. It's Camberwell Art School, Camberwell School of Art, or whatever. I can't remember. But it was one of those places that people really tried to get into, and I just walked it. I have no idea why.
Did you complete the...
I did all the paintings. I did all that. I was brought up around... My dad was a great... he was a drawer, more of a drawer. My mum was a painter. But my mum was a teacher at a primary school, a regular school, and my dad was a journalist. But that's what they liked to do. So it was around when I was a kid. And then I was pretty good. Yeah.
What do you think, as we're starting to wind down a little bit, what do you think was the most important thing that you learned from him?
From him?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I suppose what he did, he loved me. That never stopped. Didn't matter what hardship he was going through, whatever. That, I think, is what I take away from him. As fucked up as he was, and as messed up as he often made Christmas. Oh man! Oh, there's a few memories there.
I'm sure they came out in art school.
Oh yeah, man, it was through.
Don't get us started on Boxing Day.
He never stopped loving us. So, and we never stopped loving him. Or I certainly didn't anyway. Yeah. So I think that's what I take away from that, really. And also, there's that thing. The idea that you would say to your kid, "Yeah, you want to go to art school? Go to art school." You know. That it's not go down and get a job now,
right?
You know, it wasn't any of that, or there's no future in that. There was the idea that you would say to your kid that. I think that's very important. I've said it to my kids too. You know, I've got more money than he ever saw in his life, but and that's the only way you can do it here. But my kids get that. They just go play. It's college is for you to play. It's your time because you're gonna jobs coming down the line. So go and have some fun. But he always did that. And when I did the acting thing, they never blinked. Or my mother, they never blinked. Because I left art school. I dropped out of art school to call myself an actor. And by calling myself an actor, what I did is I went to the dole office, the welfare office, and signed on for welfare for a dole check. And they said, "What do you do?" I said, "I'm an actor." I filled it in and I never signed on again. So that's how I call myself an actor.
That's what a weird backdoor.
Yeah,
the welfare office. I guess this is my profession.
That's how I could then I could actually put it on a bit of paper. That's what I called myself.
Was that motivating?
Yeah, I'd get to get a job, and then I would do pub theatre, which we have in little theatre companies. Anything to get a wage. I worked selling advertising over the phone to people who couldn't afford it.
Oh man,
you know those guys?
Oh yeah,
yeah. Those guys that still call you now. I was one of those. I did anything. I worked in a pub. Did anything? Try and get some money, and then got very, very lucky and got a lead in a television film.
And was that it from then on?
No, I would go back and do other jobs, but the first director, he was like my Quentin in England. He was a guy named Alan Clark, and he was an English director. He was a fantastic guy. He died very young, but Gary Oldman came up through him. Ray Winstone came up through him. I came up through him. I got a flat tire on a bicycle, and I was trying to find a bicycle pump at a theatre, and the theatre didn't have a bicycle pump, but there were these auditions going on that they knew about were going on for a television film. And they said, "You've shaved your head before in a play." And I said, "Oh yeah, I don't care." He said, "Well, go along for this. That's the only requirement." Like, all right.
Well,
so I went in and met this guy, and 3 auditions later, I got the job. And he recommended me onto a guy named Mike Lee, as an improvisational film director, and then he recommended me onto Stephen Frears. So I went through the 3 of them.
Did you ever get that bicycle pump?
I never got it. I often wonder where that bike is.
There's still a bike just sitting in front of that theatre. Just this rusty bike.
Oh, fuck me, man.
Oh, I never left this here.
I should put it up. Yeah.
So, is Hateful Eight? Is that what we're promoting today, or do you have other stuff that you?
I've got 2 little films I did.
Anything you want, as much as you want.
Nip out and see this film. I don't know when does this go out?
When's this going up, Katie?
Around Hateful Eight time.
Later in it's not.
I don't even know if we'll have distribution for it.
23rd, of December.
23rd of December for Hateful Eight.
Well, there's 2 films to look for.
Boy, wasn't Star Wars great, guys?
Worth the wait.
I
so
couldn't
good.
believe it. JJ nailed it.
He nailed it. He fucking. I've seen it 9 times.
Oh, I've never seen Harrison Ford so interested in being there.
What do you think is going to happen? I think it's going to be huge. Right?
It's going to be fucking enormous.
Oh, it'll be the biggest movie.
It is the movie. I mean, and I'm not even worried about jinxing it. It is the movie of the century. Yeah. There's no question, because I think
we're talking about Hateful Eight here, right?
Yes, we're talking about Hateful Eight. It's going to be the 8th in a series of hateful movies.
Man,
but Star Wars, because we went through what happened with the episodes 1, 2, and 3 in the late 90s and the early 2000s, like people are so primed to re-feel what they felt the first time they saw Star Wars again.
Yeah, I remember seeing it. I remember when I was a kid seeing it. I mean, I don't know how old I was, but teenager, I guess.
Yeah, you would have been about 16.
Yeah, and there was a guy sitting talking in the cinema in front of me. I just want to smack him on the head. You know when people talk in the cinema?
Oh yeah, I have a fucking serious pet peeve about
that's a real bad one. That's a bad one.
That drives me crazy.
Anyway, but it was, and then it just came up. It was that film was one of those films.
And I think it's going to be that for the people like us that want to rediscover that magic and opening up this universe again. And I think for a whole new bevy of fans, of young people, it's just going to, I think from top to bottom, it's going to be the I think it's going to be the film of the century.
I hope so.
For so many reasons. Like,
I've never had tickets for a movie this far out.
Have you got them?
Yeah.
Did you snag some?
I haven't. Yeah. Well, I'm.
You'll probably see it before us.
You got things to do.
I don't know. There's some perks.
I mean, we've all seen it by now. It's December 23rd.
Oh, what Christmas times we're having here on this podcast.
Oh my God, where am I going to be?
I don't even know.
Actually, I'll tell you what.
What?
I'm hoping to be. It depends if we can swing it. Because this Hateful Eight opens on Christmas Day.
Yeah.
So I want to do what I'm trying to do. My wife said she's up for it. Is go to one of the Christmas Day screening.
Yeah.
And go take the kids. Take them to see it, and then go home and have the dinner. But I don't know if I'll get away with it or not. But
I think that'd be great.
They want to do it, but it's whether we can get in. And where it's showing and all that stuff on the 70mm because I want them to see it on the big screen.
Yeah.
Completely.
In what area will you? What region? You'll be here.
California.
Oh, great.
Oh, yeah.
I think there's going to be enough screenings of it. You'll be able to find something.
When Django came out, I saw that at the New Beverly. That's where I went to see it first night, and it was fucking awesome. But I feel like 70mm. I don't want to see it at the New Bev.
I
want to see it first. I want to see it on a bigger.
I saw it at the Chinese theater. I saw Django at the Chinese theater and Inglourious Basterds at the Chinese theater.
I got to tell you,
I think it'll have to be on a bigger.
Yeah.
It'll have to be. Yeah, it'll have to be something like that, right?
Yeah.
I would imagine. I don't know what they got planned, but
that's really exciting. Yeah, and also, I think perfect counter programming to Star Wars. Perfect counter programming to Star Wars.
Yeah. I mean, Quentin's his own world.
Yeah.
You go to Quentin.
Plus, it's cold in that movie. For some reason, I enjoy when it's cold in the movie and you're watching it in December in a theater and it's like, yeah, I see their breath. It's cold outside.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know why I feel good about that, but...
well, thanks for that. Man, it was torture. It wasn't, actually. It was kind of fun.
Tim, we want you to do more cold movies. Why would that be a thing that I would need to...
Sponsored by Canada Goose.
So what were the other two films that you wanted to get out there?
There's the two tiny budget little independent movies that I care about. One is called 600 Miles and directed by Gabriel Ripstein, and the other one directed by Michel Franco is Chronic. And I don't know if they'll have distribution, but I thought I'd just throw them out there.
You should, yeah. You absolutely should.
Great young filmmakers. They really are. They're very, very cool people. So.
Anything next year that you want to talk about, or anything that you're working on that people don't know about yet, or anything?
I can't yet because I haven't made my mind up.
Okay.
But there's a couple of really cool things.
The Snape origin story?
We play Snape in the West End. Snape, for some reason, is now a vampire that sings. I don't get this.
Snape's Dracula Spectacular. Snapes and Capes.
It's Snape at Hogwarts putting on a production of Dracula Spectacular.
that some of the students show up for because they feel bad for him because no one wants.
God, man, maybe I should have done it. No.
While we're at it, you should have been in the first Die Hard too. Fuck that Rickman guy.
Yeah, I mean, come on. No, but I mean, I think it's but it's interesting to look back and go, oh, what if I had?
Oh no, you don't. The thing is, I don't because I just know. When I was directing, I called up Alan because he was the only guy that I knew who directed, an actor who directed, and they were already up and running, but I don't know if they were. I can't remember. But yeah, you can't. I mean, Alan's going to do it. It's mine would have been a lot more oiky, a little more greasy. So yeah,
Oi, Potter,
Mr. Potter.
Yeah, I read them to my kids.
Oh yeah,
the whole book, the whole series.
Yeah,
I don't even enjoy them. I don't know why I'm talking about.
You don't like them?
Wizards and swords. I'm out. Whenever I see a sword,
you need some kids, floating around.
Yeah, you have some kids. Matt will tell you anything about any Star Trek, anything.
Yeah, sure. I enjoy.
Oh, yeah?
I enjoy space. Yeah.
They bring that back out here, right?
Oh, believe me, I'm on Twitter trying to get a job.
Are you trying to write on it?
Yeah.
Who's making it?
Kurtzman.
Okay.
Kurtzman and Orky.
And it's a TV series, another TV series.
Well, what they're doing, from what I've read, is they're going to launch CBS's platform, their streaming platform, which is hilarious that the FCC wouldn't give everyone a la carte programming, like you couldn't pay for whatever cable channels you wanted. Now they're just everyone's launching their own streaming
Exactly
channel.
the same thing.
So
yeah.
it's the same thing. You're just doing it on your computer. But they're going to launch it on television. They're going to do the first episode on CBS, and then it's going to go. The rest of them are going to be on the streaming
I think it's
platform.
because the public just ignored them.
Yeah,
They just did it anyway.
yeah.
I mean, you could. My kids, that's how they watch TV.
yeah. But it is getting.
Or the
It's going to be a little crazy how many people are asking for $8 a month. Do you know what I mean?
that's coming.
Well, that's
You know
the
what I
thing,
mean?
that's
It's
the
like
thing is that
Hulu,
all the
Netflix,
companies,
CBS
whenever I meet
now.
with companies who have subscription services and they go, all we're asking for is $4 a month, I go, yeah, there's 300 people asking for $4 a month. Like, people are going to end up spending more in their cable, but, in the television business, you have channels, networks that are, battling for carriage rights with DirecTV and Time Warner, like all these, and so then they have those struggles, and now I think, in as much as the internet empowered single users like YouTube to go out and make, now networks are like, oh, I don't know if we need you guys anymore. We'll just put our content, like they're
I've got a question for you along those lines. Do you think the Nielsen thing is relevant at all?
No, not remotely.
It hasn't been.
Not remotely. And the problem is, there is. I spent a lot of time thinking about this because I really do.
Well, I do because they kept bringing up the ratings. I'm like, when I was doing it,
It doesn't. The only
It
thing
doesn't count.
The only thing the ratings mean anything to are advertisers, and when advertisers adopt, a lot of people who run the big companies that buy ad time.
Yeah.
Those people, a lot of them are older and not as in touch with how things work, and so they are still. And sooner or later they'll start to die off, but they are more in touch with the old way of doing media, which is you look at Nielsen, you look at a small sampling of people who would also take the time to do it, and that's the number that they live by. If you could just get advertisers to look at a different metric. So the problem is it's finding an algorithm that creates a metric for true social penetration for any piece of entertainment. Because the Nielsen... I'm going to bore the shit out of everybody.
No. I find this to be quite interesting.
The Nielsen number, so like shows that are considered like, oh, these are shows people are watching, like there are popular shows that actually don't rate incredibly highly according to Nielsen. But because so much of the story is not in how people sit in front of their television set, there's DVRing, there's people are streaming. There is a certain amount of cultural penetration that's not being measured that is actually, I think, the true number. And in as much as I think they are trying to figure out how to do that, there's no one's figured out. They don't know how to quantify to advertisers and go, okay, a show like Mad Men, which really, 3 million people watched. I mean, it's a respectable number.
Now it's been watched more because it's on.
But the penetration that a show like Mad Men had on the culture was so much more valuable than what the Nielsen number would tell the story of. That it's getting advertisers. It's finding a metric that measures that thing that then advertisers will accept.
Don't you think that the networks are sort of in on it because they're still trying to tell the advertisers that they're relevant. They're still trying to camouflage the fact that that's over.
There are I guarantee you there are shows that if you saw what the true number was, networks would not probably want that information.
They want it out there. Yeah.
So right now, the main networks have a certain amount of control, but as with any digital, as any revolution, which is certainly happening right now, sooner or later it's going to tip because people are creating streaming services. They're going to form direct relationships with the consumers, and then it's not all that shit's not going to matter. It'll be like the old days of television where it's like Mr. Bubble Soap sponsors the Lucille Ball Comedy Hour.
It should. If they want to do it, that's pretty much what it's going to have to be.
Ultimately, yeah.
Sponsored by Marlboro.
Sponsored by Marlboro.
Chesterfield, the president.
Barney the Dinosaur, sponsored by Chesterfield.
Welcome to the Dumont's programming.
Yeah, no shit, right?
But that's product integration. The people are already doing product integration. It's it's already out there. But it is going to take a paradigm shift in how it's calculated and what advertisers are willing to accept as. But just like any kind of structure that's dying out, some people are afraid to let go of the way things were done, but it's going to evolve past that shit.
Well, DirecTV is now AT&T,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
They fucked me.
Yep, there you go.
I got away from Uverse, and then all of a sudden,
Yeah.
guess what, buddy? That dish is pointing at
isn't that
AT&T.
also- That's Murdoch too, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, if you actually sit back and look at who runs what,
It's three people.
It's three
It's
people.
Three lizards in human suits.
Yeah, and they usually are lizards.
What are we doing? It's sort of like it's kind of like the Vincent D'Onofrio character in Men in Black, where it's just
sugar
like he's
water.
barely holding on to the
He's a
skin.
cockroach.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a giant cockroach. What are we gonna do with the masses today? Like, we're gonna fuck everybody.
Do you know, wasn't there one time when Murdoch tried to sue The Simpsons, and they had to tell him, break it to him, it was actually his show?
I didn't hear that story, but that's an amazing story.
I don't know if that's urban myth, but I have a feeling it's true. Where he went off because they kept saying things about Fox. They do the fake Fox
Yeah, the
scroll and
scrolls
do all
on the
that
bottom,
shit.
They tried to go after
Let's
him.
go after him. I want to go after him. Excuse me, Mr. Murdoch, but Frank, you own that.
And not only that, that's the show that ultimate. You know, Simpsons and Married with Children were the two shows that like made Fox Fox.
Oh yeah.
That they wouldn't have been. There wouldn't have been a Fox network without those two flagship shows.
Yeah.
You know, so that's kind of funny. That's like.
There's the other urban myth is one. Two guys in a pub went out. I don't know if it was in England, but they went out and they trademarked 21st Century Fox.
Oh, two guys trademarked 21st
Yeah,
Century
and they had
Fox.
to buy it off them. I don't know if that's true or not.
That's
But
fantastic.
they went, wait a minute.
Oh, those are the kind of stories I love.
That can't be true, that one.
I don't see why it couldn't be true, especially in an era, you know, like we just in the last 25 years, you know, there were people squatting on URLs, you know, like
Well, they do it to politicians
yeah.
Yeah.
all the time. When
They
they're
just did it
going
for
to
Trump.
run, they've already got trademarked their name or got their website, their domain.
Do you do any of that stuff?
What's that?
Yeah, like any web stuff. No. There's not a. I
might
can't
be.
imagine there's. I'm sure there's a timroth.com, but it's probably not.
Yeah, I've got nothing to do with any of it.
Do you ever see yourself, you know, going into digital?
He doesn't see himself. He's Dracula.
I'm Dracula. Look at the mirror.
Nothing's there, Chris.
Matt, you know, sometimes I want to slap you for interrupting. That was a genius callback.
That's pretty good.
That was a beautiful. That was
It's fine.
so
No, the
beautifully
thing to do
done.
Is to cut out all reference to that,
So people have no
and then
idea.
keep it in.
Yeah, just like Dracula doesn't cast a reflection.
and just leave crickets.
And then Matt just came in with this weird Dracula reference at the end.
50-50. Usually it's crickets.
Would you ever see yourself making digital content for a streaming platform just for the sake of
You
know,
mean to be, acting in it?
as a director?
Oh shit, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, completely. Yeah, I don't care what. I mean, you still. It's a new way of performing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, I like the whole Quentin purist notion. I haven't worked on film for a long time. When I directed, I shot on anamorphic, on widescreen, so I understand his kind of, and also the celebration of cinema. But I haven't done. I mean, most of the stuff I do now is digital, and what's the difference between that and Amazon or?
Nothing really. I mean, it's the delivery systems are getting the stuff to people. Like that's really the most important
But
thing.
Quentin's argument is, who wants to watch TV in a crowded room?
Right.
You know, and I take that point. But just the idea of sitting in a room with a group of strangers experiencing something is still has such a huge amount of joy.
Well, his movies are such event movies, and it's such that because he does things that no one else will do. It's so good to see that with a community of people, so you can all like holy fuck or laugh or be complete. I mean, but I think it's harder and harder to motivate people. You know, because we're creatures of convenience. It's harder to motivate people to put on pants, leave their house, park, go sit in a theater. If it's a movie where someone goes, I could have just fucking watched that on my iPad.
But I'm wondering if that is the case. Certainly in France they go and see movies. They're really obsessed with going to see movies and that experience. I'm wondering if that's just a thing that's changing in the States more than it is elsewhere.
I think what'll probably end up happening is that going to a movie theater will be, that's like a fun weird thing that like
a drive-in.
Like people used to sort of take it for granted. You go see the movies. But people like Quentin and JJ and Big Guillermo, like they'll make movies that you need to see on a big screen that are appropriate for that platform.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all gonna it's all going to suss out that way. And then there's other stuff where you're like, I can just watch that on my TV. I don't need to go sit in a theater and see that.
It'd be awful to be that director, though, where you can go, where you are the one that they're saying that about.
Yeah. I mean,
I don't need to see that on the big screen, right? Ooh,
if that type of storytelling is important to you, I think film will have its own kind of specific subset of storytelling that you'll start to see the delineation between, that's something you should see in a theater versus you don't need to see that in a theater.
But I mean, and also maybe just, I mean, I actually, I really go with Quentin on that thing, and I will be doing those digital films, and all that stuff, but I go with him down the celebration road,
and I think
with him. I really do.
Because there will be a delineation like that, you're going to see more people in the Quentin School style of filmmaking.
I hope so.
Who will make films that they know they want specifically to be seen that way. Yeah. And I think in a way, you'll start to see a better crop of film that is made for cinema.
Yeah.
It's just like everything is so splintered. Media is so splintered. It's like, and everything kind of has its own way of telling a story. Even down to Vine or Instagram. Yeah. There are specific ways to tell stories, and film is going to, theater film is just going to be its own. It'll be like theater, but theater film. I think it's just going to be different.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you get to sort of pick, which I think is sort of fun.
Hopefully we can just sort of dive around. But I like when you shoot on film, there's a kind of nervous edge to it because there's only so much of it.
Yeah.
I mean, it costs a lot of money, and there's only so much of it. Whereas if you're you're shooting on a hard drive, you just keep shooting till.
Well, that's why whenever you see practical effects, you go, "Holy shit! There was real craft in that. They could have just cheesed it out." I mean, there's a real art to CG. I'm not disparaging people who are CG artists, but because a lot of people misuse it because it's cheaper, can be cheaper. When you see practical effects, you go, "Oh wow, that's really crazy that someone decided to do that."
Yeah. I mean, that was what I think Tim Burton was trying to do with Planet of the Apes, but it didn't work. But he could have gone down that road. It was just available at that point. In the studio, he was fighting to make a dark movie, and they didn't let him. But
would you say Quentin is the guy of all the directors? He's the guy that you're most simpatico with. Like, you go, we're just. I'm
not. I mean, we bump into each other at festivals. That's how it's been for a few years. I mean, he asked me to do Inglourious Basterds when, unfortunately, I was doing the TV show, so I couldn't do it. But this is kind of us just rediscovering me, rediscovering him. This is new.
Are you watching directors on each project as a director? Or are you watching and going, "Oh, this is how they do that," or "This is how they tell that story"? Or are you seeing that, or you're just paying attention to your?
I'm just watching them as me. I mean, some people just. Here's what Quentin does, which is which I watched, and I actually talked to him about it. He's an extraordinary director of actors, on many levels. But first of all, and he's one of the few writers that writes speeches for their characters. That doesn't exist. It's incredible. So you better get ready, But he does. It's such fun. But what he does, I watched him as the focus shifts back and forth between the people. I watched him quietly, just his focus, just go on to them, talking to them, telling stories, starting, and loosening them up and getting them ready. I watched him getting us ready. It's. I don't know where he got it from. I don't know if he was just born with it, but it's very, very rare. He'd start to as the camera was going to go. The next setup was going to be on that side of the room or whatever wherever you were. I watched him just shift his personal focus away from that person, away from me, and onto that person, for example.
Oh, that's really
and then I watched it coming back around to me. It's a weird thing that it stood out, but it really stood out, and then of course he engaged with you as a director of your performance, but. His way of directing is very, it's kind of psychological in a way. I mean, and it must be very, very exhausting for him. But he's an utterly unique person. There's many different kinds of directors. You could put them in groups, but there's only one Quentin.
Yeah.
There's only one.
Well, I cannot thank you enough for your time. I mean, this. Oh my God! Sorry, I didn't mean to keep you so long.
That's all right, man.
No, it's
Really fucking hungry though.
Yeah, we'll get you.
No, I'm going to meet my missus.
Oh, okay, you are. Yeah, you want some more green tea, kid fans?
Thanks, man.
You've been down that road.
I've done that one.
But as you direct, as you put more stuff out, you come back on, please.
Oh yeah, I'd love to.
Please come back on.
Yeah. You should get Quentin. Have you had Quentin on here?
He agreed to do the when he called one of our bookers for the podcast, Deb's partner, and said, he asked me to moderate the panel, and I said, sure. And then I was like, here's my opportunity. Tell him I'll do it if he does the podcast. And he said, yeah. So he's going to do it at some point.
Get ready, because, man, he knows so much stuff.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the thing that's great...
It's unbelievable just listening to him.
The thing that I liked about him is that he's clearly a fucking genius.
Yeah.
But he's relatable because he's willing to express... Like, he's not afraid to get emotional about stuff and talk about it, and he really cares.
It's extraordinary what happens with him in that... Something that you really wouldn't expect is he's fascinated by.
Yeah.
And you go, well, okay, where did that come from? And he'll know somebody's name, their brother's name, the person who they didn't even know was their brother's name. That kind of, like some weird performer that is from the 1920s he can tell you all of the films that relate to various. It's like a family. You have to sit there and really pay attention. My wife's a bit like that. You have to really pay attention, and okay, well, I have no idea where this is going.
Yeah, my plan was just like we'll bring him in and just kind of let him go. And then
you better do your homework. Not like you did with me.
That was terrific.
Yeah. No, he's fun. You should. I hope he does it because it's there's nothing that he likes to talk more about in films. That's his thing.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much, Tim Roth. Right. Good to see you. Enjoy your burrito, everyone. The end.
Now leaving Nerdist.com. Enjoy your burrito.